Hello YouTube, how are we all? Today it's time for something different. I'm gonna ride a brand new R1300RT. Let's get on with it and I'll explain why. I'm not gonna do a full featured review going through all the specs and whatnot because YouTube is already filled with those. But what I am going to do is benchmark this against my K1600B. So why am I doing this is because I own a 2024 BMW K1600B, which I love to bits. My bike just went in for its 30,000 kilometer service. So if I continue in this pace, I'm going to need a next big touring bike in about 3 to 4 years. Looking how the K16 platform is doing, I don't think BMW is going to make another one. Unless they come out with a bang with a brand new bike, but I highly doubt it. Because as far as I understand, the bore spacing of the current machine is so thin already that there is really no room to increase the bore, so you could potentially stroke it, but I don't know. So I'm riding this because this might be, or another version of this might be, my next big touring bike. Well, it does move. So the first thing that I notice as a K16 owner is it's so small. It is absolutely tiny. My bike has the same screen, and on my bike it just sort of sits there. On this bike it's filled with a screen. Another thing that I notice is the engine. Well, don't get me wrong, I understand the allure of the boxer engine, but compared to the inline 6 that the K bikes have, this is just low. Tractor-like, I think, is the comparison I'd like to make here. One thing that this bike has that I'm very salty that my bike does not have is the adaptive cruise control. That's such an awesome feature. But again, as the K platform is so old, with the last update, the previous generation of RT did get the adaptive cruise control. But BMW said that nope, the K bikes won't get it because it would have meant too much re-engineering. Let's see how we go through the first roundabout. Definitely does turn in quicker, but other than that, there's not much of a difference, to be honest. I'm in road mode, and of course I'm not punching it very heavily. Although I own a B version of the K1600, I configured the front end of my bike sort of like the GT versions. So I have the aluminum cast handlebars instead of the standard bars that the B version comes from, and I also have a tall windscreen from the GT versions. currently riding with the windscreen at its lowest setting because it's pretty hot and I just need some air. And I immediately feel that I need to shift through the gears much more because the 1600cc engine has considerably more low-end torque. I could do this doing 1500 RPM and be just fine in 5th gear. But here I'm in 3rd gear and I feel like the engine is sort of lugging. This bike is the ASA model, or it comes with an automated manual gearbox, but I'm not going to talk about that because honestly, if I would buy a bike, I would buy it with a regular gearbox because that's one of the great joys of motorcycling for me. Brakes are very good, but brakes on all the BMWs I've ever ridden have been very good. Yeah, but the sound is like a tractor. I'm sorry. This one has a radio. I think you can buy an RT without a radio, which is absolutely something that I would do. My K bike also has a radio because I couldn't get the screen without the radio. The radio on my bike is useless. It isn't loud enough. And well, I don't want to be one of those guys. Oddly enough, I thought that my B model would be more cramped, but this feels pretty cramped. Like my knees are quite bent. I'm expecting to do about an hour and a half to 2 hour ride today, so I'll report back how this goes. I'm just now pressing the plus button on the cruise, and yeah, it does move in 4th gear, but again, my K would have had similar acceleration in 6th. Let's put the windscreen up. Yes, so all the wind from my chest has now disappeared and I can still see over the windscreen, and this is the highest it will go. So the windscreen on the K goes higher, so I usually look through the windscreen like so, which doesn't really bother me. I know people that absolutely hate doing that. But the K model has worse aerodynamics, because if you put the windscreen to its tallest most position, you can feel a shove in your back because there is no relief. I sort of expected more. I was hoping that the screen would go higher and I would be completely out of wind, because the top of my helmet still gets hit with the wind, which is okay, but still. A girl can dream. Oh, not in 6th gear, of course. This is not the K bike. So I've ridden this for 10 kilometers and I think I already know that I love my K more. We're doing 76 kilometers an hour, which probably is around 71, 72. And I feel the engine lugging. Like the bike tells me to shift up, which is fair enough. Fuel economy and all that jazz, but it feels weird. Let's switch to Dynamic Pro, because this is supposed to be somehow changing the dynamics of the bike. I'm not sure if I felt anything. I'm chuckling here in the helmet because I remember what my BMW salesperson told me about the 1300 boxes. He told me that all of them just sound broken, but that's fine, they're not broken, and that's true. It has this weird, I don't know what, but I guess it's one of those things that when something is so strange that it starts to look beautiful, I could get used to this engine probably. But of course, again, 2-cylinder boxer, yes, it is a weird configuration these days versus an inline 6 in a motorcycle. Let's slow down and do something more spirited. Yes, it does haul ass. And put myself back to road mode because this is the mode I would spend most of my time in. I just put down the air deflectors down here, and they do change something. When they're down, I can feel more air on my thighs, which is good, because I think one complaint I've seen on the interwebs is that this bike doesn't have too much airflow, and I can second that. The BK has sort of movable arms around here that you can open up, and then it will throw a lot of air towards your chest. It's just odd. My two fingers don't have anything to grab onto. Habits die hard. And I feel the riding position is a bit less optimal for me. I feel like I'm hunched over a bit, and I feel that the handlebars are too low for myself. I'm 186 centimeters tall. Another thing that my B has are the floorboards, so I can put my feet up to change the position on longer rides. So this bike does not have any such conveniences, so I don't know what I would do. I can already feel my ankles getting cramped a bit. I can feel more vibrations through the handlebars. Don't get me wrong, I'm probably sounding super negative about this bike, but it's not true. This is a perfectly good bike. Like, it's an amazing bike, all things considered. But it's just the K bikes for me seem even better. So we're just about ending our country road section here, and yeah, it's decent. Like, it's more flickable than the K bike for sure, because it's just smaller. It feels like such a tiny bike to me. Wind protection is marginally worse because my helmet is currently in the wind, and on my K I can get it higher so that the wind will just touch the top of my head. And on the other hand, there's not much airflow. When it will be over 30 outside, it's currently 22. This bike would be hot, even if you would wear your mesh jacket and everything. So I've ridden these Climb Badlands pounds on my K through, I think, 33-degree weather. And of course they were hot, but I survived. But on this bike I feel like there isn't enough airflow. Now, to be fair, this is not apples to apples comparison, because the K is one size bigger than this bike. But as I told you in the beginning, my whole point is to see whether I could potentially replace my K with this. I sort of feel like I know the ergonomics of this bike, but some of the buttons still work sort of different. Well, this increases and decreases the speed in 10k increments if you keep the button depressed. My K just does it with 1 km increments. This is of course better. Another thing to note are the mirrors. They are good, they have excellent visibility, but their position is strange. They're so far down that I have to look down to see them. On the K, the mirrors are up here around this, so they are always kind of in my line of sight. This bike does have blind spot detection, which is absolutely lovely, and again, it's something that BMW just said, nah, we're not gonna put it on our most expensive touring bike. But one of the reasons I love my K so much is it's so perfectly imperfect. You still feel like you have to do something on the bike, like do your shoulder checks, decide whether you want more or less air on you by moving the electrically actuated windscreen, decide whether you want little feet on the floorboards or on the foot pegs. I mean, life is filled with choices. The thing you don't have to do on the BK is decide which gear you're in. From 50 kph onwards, you can just be in 6th gear and ride the torque wave. I feel in this bike I need to roll the gears more. Now this is one of the features that I will absolutely love about this bike, is that it has an adaptive cruise control and an automatic gearbox. So I could potentially follow those cars endlessly. When they would slow down, the bike would slow down, downshift. When they would speed up, the bike would speed up and upshift. On like long days on country roads, such as these, in the afternoons, in the dark already, these would be super useful. And again, we're doing 70, and I feel like I want to change down. this would take some getting used to. This again, it's not a bad thing. I love rowing my own gears. Oh, you can see the radar cruise in action now. The cars in front of me are slowing down, so I'm slowing down. And I can bump this up to 90 because this is what the speed limit came from. We're still doing 68. Although it's locking the engine so bad, and I'm in drive mode or the automatic mode. Are these people trying to tell me that I need to do an overtake? Oh, look at cranes! See, it actually changed gear. Yep, and it changed down again. Yeah, it sounds like it's broken. This is so weird. Entering our motorway section of the review, and it's going to start pissing down. Well, because it's raining, the speed limit is only 100. So I was hoping it would be 110. I can feel some wind moving around my upper body now, but nothing on my legs, and I'm gonna take an exit and put some rain gear on. Fine, it's not raining anymore. Okay, while we're here, let's have a quick look-see at the luggage. Okay. I think these are, yes, the barrier cases where you can just yeah, if they're sized like that, I think they're comparable to what the K has. Although the cases are more awkward in the sizing, but BMW and other third parties will sell you bag liners. So luggage, I think it's better because it goes into a considerably smaller space. Of course, there are roadworks. Look, we can actually do 110. And it just laps it up, which is of course expected. If I look down like that, the wind noise gets considerably quieter, but my neck wouldn't like it, so this is pretty loud. I definitely would need to be using my AirPods, which I'm using with my K as well anyways. This doesn't go any higher. And now I can test sort of the biggest gripe I have with my K1600, and this is specific to the B and Grand America models. And the gripe is that BMW hasn't been asked to fix their aerodynamics. So in the dirty air, like behind a truck like this, the BK would start to weave. But no, this is stable as. No, actually it isn't. I can feel sort of a similar weave-ish thing happening. But no, it's considerably less bad than on my K-bike. So I don't feel it's dangerous as such. It doesn't require any steering input to correct it. And I've flown through Germany with cruise set to 170 kph. And yep, you can feel it weaving, and it's a thing it does, and it's fine. But it's just disconcerting, and I guess like small aerodynamic tweak, like adding some sort of winglets or something, would probably fix it. BMW said, yeah, now we just melt the platform. But I absolutely love the adaptive cruise. So it's sort of sketchy. But right now I have to be so much less concentrating on the road and the traffic ahead. I can just let the cruise control do its thing. But I would definitely need to get a taller windscreen or some sort of a windscreen extender from Huge or something like that. And one more note about the windscreen differences is on my K-bike, the windscreen goes high enough that I never have to wipe out roadkill from my visor. But on this, I can see how much rain my visor has already collected, that the bugs would come as well. And I'm a very lazy person. I also feel like the smallness of the bike is somewhat to its detriment in roads like these. It isn't crosswindy, but I feel like the crosswind would maybe make the bike unsettled a bit more than it does with my BK. I can feel the noise starting to get to me. I can feel a tiny fraction of a headache starting to build. Now getting into some traffic, and this is again where the adaptive cruise control will just shine. I don't have to worry about speed limits. The cars in front of me will take care of that. Still haven't touched brakes. I think it's actually braking for you as well. That's pretty cute. So again, no input from me, no throttle, no brakes. Please, BMW, make another version of the K-bike. It will have adaptive cruise. It will have the blind spot monitoring. And I'll spend my own hard-earned money on it again. That works so well. I deliberately boxed myself in, and again, zero throttle input, zero brake input, just using the indicators and pointing the bike into a different direction. It will decelerate, it will accelerate based on purely that feature. I know there are other bikes that can do this as well these days. I know there's I think Ducati Multistrada V4 or something can do it, and probably other bikes as well, but this is such an amazing feature for a dual bike. And of course BMW's own GS can do it as well. as I've said before, the conditions are not super windy, but the bike is super stable. Nothing has unsettled it thus far, not even passing trucks or riding behind a truck in its dirty air. The road that I've been riding on is the ring road of Tallinn, Estonia. So I've reached its end, so I'm now going to chuck a U-E and ride it back again, just to get those miles in. And oh my god, I need to brake now myself. Oh god. Spent an hour riding this bike, although I did have one small break, and I feel the seat is okay-ish. I can already start to feel my tailbone and my upper thighs a bit, but I think I could play around with the position of the seat, maybe put it a bit higher, maybe put the front end higher and keep the tail end lower or something like that, and I would find a comfortable position for me. We've covered 86.3 kilometers, most of it on motorway, and the fuel economy is currently at 4.9 liters per 100 kilometers. It is considerably better than on the BK. The BK would be somewhere around 5.4 maybe at this point, and the speeds would increase, fuel economy would decrease significantly. My blasts through Germany got fuel economy readings around 6.7, 6.9 liters per 100 km. So this is so much more economical. So would I replace my BMW K1600B with this? This being the BMW R1300RT. I guess no. As it stands right now, I will probably test ride maybe a Goldwing, and I'm still kind of hoping and dreaming that the BMW won't leave this market segment for only Goldwings and Indians and Harleys. And also the riding position is not absolutely perfect for me. You don't have any highway bags from factory. On the other hand, you have this absolutely amazing adaptive cruise control. Although I'm not a fan of automated transmissions on motorcycles, because rowing my own is one of the great joys, it is super useful in these kind of long touring situations. So all in all, this is an excellent touring bike, but the K is just better for me. If you think I got something horribly wrong, scream at me in the comments. Thanks, and see you next time.